Works for me. Okay, so we got through yoga translations 1 through 4, and then if you turn the page, it's going to say basic training, restorative practice, basic training 2. And this is a nice review, and I'm basically going to show you what we learned, taking out all the stuff that's way too intense or advanced for the average person. So much more yin restorative practice so that you have like a go-to. I like the way it looks in the video, so we're putting the heater back on. Putting the fireplace back on.
You can turn it on without the heat on if it's...
I know, but...
You know that.
Yeah. Heat, I love. Okay. Warm is good. So in this rendition, we just did cocoon, but we're going to do an extended cocoon at the end. There are two, one standing version and one floor version that we haven't tried yet. So while we're still fresh, let's do the new sequences, and then we'll end with like reviewing 1 through 4, which would be what we already learned for today, but just a real simplified restorative, and then we'll end with cocoon. So we're just going to bring it up and then gently bring it back down. Sound good? Mm-hmm. Excellent. Okay, so why don't we go with the standing poses, because then we will literally bring it up and then bring it back down and stand at the back of the mat. So there's a lot of different variations that I do with these, and we'll learn some more this weekend too. I do this like AYRx version, these different moves, but when I am just gonna do the standing version of the leg stretches, we do a lot of legs and the basic training, and also a lot of arms. So we're just gonna focus on legs, but the arms are always involved, so we're working the limbs together. Standing at the back of the mat, there's 2 versions. Let's go for the handholds first. We haven't actually visited these guys yet. Does that seem too high for you?
Yeah, I think I'll just lower it down 1. The swing is slightly high anyway.
Yeah, that would be good. So yeah, so when we hold on to the handholds, there's 2 versions. We can grab with our fingers, finger wrap, or we can place it, you'll notice it is extra wide. We can place it around our wrists and do a wrist wrap. Now I found that a wrist wrap, for me personally, I should always say that after everything I say, but for me personally, it's easier to hold on with the wrist wrap. Yes, your hands will get tired, just like they would in rock climbing, because you're not used to holding all your body weight, but in time, it'll get easier. We just have to build up that strength. So you can do a wrist wrap if your hands get tired, but they'll probably kind of fatigue you more quickly. A wrist wrap is also going to traction. Can you put that away? That always like drives me nuts with the thing. Thank you. It just feels good to have a clean, because I can see it.
All right.
And you're blocking my mirror.
Just pull it back out.
Thanks. And lower your leg loops too, because your leg loops were too high. Just in case we use those.
Oh yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so wrist wrap, what we're going to do is just use some momentum, pushing the swing forward and working on timing, speaking of timing. So what we want to do is time it so when the swing moves forward towards the front of the mat, we lift our right leg up and we get it bunched up at the ankle. So just see if you can get your timing down, where you give it a good push and then get your foot up there. Hiya. Good job. Now, if that doesn't work for all of your people, I will show you kind of a newer thing that I do, is you can actually start with the swing behind you, put it underneath your butt, hold on to the wrist wraps, slide back, get it to the ankles, kind of reverse engineer it, and then get the right foot up there. Some people, yeah, thank you. Because you know, you've seen in some of the workshops are helpful because then we get to see everyone struggle with these real simple things that...
Okay, so we're in the wrist wrap.
Yeah, well just sit in the swing. Okay, or take your hands up, yeah, sit in the swing and grab for the handholds. Get your butt in there, yeah. Grab for the handholds. Sink your butt back. Let the swing slide to the knees. And then extend it to the ankles, yeah. And then ankles, and then bring one foot down, and yeah, to the back of the mat. So that's another way. I like practicing balancing and timing it and all of that. So for me, it's pretty easy to kick my leg up, but for the average person, it might be helpful to start just by sitting in the swing and reversing it. Since we're focusing on restorative, this obviously leads into some splits and flips and all kinds of acrobatics that we'll learn at some point. But for now, we're just stretching the back of the legs. I like to call it standing splits, where we press forward, bicep curl, coming up onto the toes. Go as far as it feels good. And then exhale, lean back, straight arms, straight legs, drop the hips. Inhale, bicep curl, press, arch and open, lift from the heart. Yes. Exhale, lean back. So even here, when I'm stretching the spine, I can give it a little wiggle from side to side. I think it feels really good. Drop your butt all the way. Drop. Yeah. So all the weight is in your arms, right? Inhale, bicep curl and press. And exhale, come back. So we can also switch in the air. So get a good wrist wrap, bend the standing leg, try to stay right underneath your plumb line, get both feet up there, and time it to get the right foot to the back of the mat. So that's how we can switch, right? So we really only need to kick up once. Let's do the same stretches here, and we'll stay on the left side. You guys are probably noticing your hands, right? Does anybody's hands get tired? Mine are getting a little tired.
Yeah.
So you can shake them out. You have to practice balancing. We can also hold on to the top of the leg loops. Why don't we practice on this side doing the other variation? So holding onto the top of the leg loops, I call it the nub, where the fabric meets the webbing. Just one side is comfortable and kind of taking on the shape of the hand. And now the hands aren't overhead, so they won't get tired as fast. Now when we lean back, we're gonna have a lot more space to drop. I think this actually feels even better as a stretch. Both legs straight. Inhale, bicep curl, lift, and press. I like to bend the elbows. I call it bicep curl and pull in. Exhale, lean back. Drop the hips. Beautiful. Inhale, bicep curl, lift, and press. Up onto the toes. Yep. All the way. That's nice, Selena. Good split. Exhale, lower. Good. Well, let's stay on this side. We're going to pull forward. Just remind me to do the other side in case I forget. Bend the knee, and we're going to press into a forward lunge. Right? So my hips are directly over the center of the mat. Follow as well. Yeah, that'll be a little intense in there, right? Okay. I'm gonna release my hand, my leg loops from my hands. I'm gonna open up the swing into a V shape and let there be room for my heart to blossom. Looking up. Then I'm going to hold on to the swing with the right hand, let the left elbow find the knee, roll the back heel down. Make sure you roll the back heel down to come into a side angle. Then I can let the right arm come overhead and maybe out on a diagonal. Lean into the swing so you can open up the hip and heart. Beautiful. It's not going to be appropriate for a beginner class, but you can straighten the front leg and come into a version of Hanma, where you hold on to the toes. Or you can hold on to the side of the foot and hold on with both hands and come into revolver, which is way too much for the average person, but it's available to us. Hold on to the swing with both hands again. All toes point forward. Come back to center. Press the swing down to the ankle. And just take a moment to pause and do a little stretching here. I like to steer, moving from side to side. You can massage out the back of the leg, pulling forward and back. Sometimes I'll slide it up and do a little massaging on the calf, which feels really good. So just take a moment to kind of play with that, with what it feels like to use the swing to stretch the back of the leg and getting into some of the tightness that lives on the lower part of the body. I particularly like the steering. That works for me. Awesome. And then we're going to pull forward or pull towards the body. And then wrap your forearms around. See if your toes can be eye level. Lift. And then keep your left forearm hooked. Open it up to a standing twist. Looking back towards your right thumb if you can balance. And then hook with both forearms. Let's do a revolve twist. Looking back towards your left thumb. Lifting up as high as you can. Keep it lifted. That's it. All right. Come on back to center. So we're going to bend the knee out to the side for a pigeon pose. Now in pigeon pose, see if you can keep your heel close to your groin. Push the knee down so it's level. That might be a little intense. Maybe that's as far as some people go here. Always holding on for balance. No one's fallen over yet, so let's keep it that way. Holding on with at least one hand. And then we can float if we wanted to play and have a little playtime in the space. Wrist wrap is a better choice if you're going to float. Bend the standing leg and just let both knees bend to begin. So get right underneath your plumb line so you don't have as big of a swag in case there was somebody behind you. Yeah, good. And then if you hook the right knee over the foot, I call it I Dream of Genie, so like a floating genie, right here. And then I can press the left knee down towards the ground and open up the hips to the side, and that feels really good to me too. There's lots of different variations to play with here, so take a few breaths to undulate, maybe straighten that leg, bend the other knee, come and cross over, bending both knees. Just see what it's like to explore in the space. What feels good? Wow. Exciting. And we have one more pose to do here, and that is called Nataraj. So I'm going to get both feet in there. I'm going to bend the left knee. I'm going to bring the top of the shin on the inside of the swing. Top of the shin on the inside, and then step to the center of the mat. Good job. That's a confusing one for a lot of people, but now we get to come into Nataraj. Maybe this is as far as you go for today. If it's possible to bring your elbows in and extend the leg back, bending both knees, you'll get a deeper stretch. Keep your foot close to your bum. Yeah, that'll protect the knee. If you straighten your back leg, it can make your knee wobble, right? Yeah, just drop in. This might be enough of a stretch for the average person. It's pretty intense. Then we're going to come to stand. If we want to do another version, we're going to wrap our arms around the outside of the swing, reach down for your shoulder blades, grab for the swing, elbows point towards the sky, and then pull. Another version of Nataraj. Very challenging, but that one's good. Okay. All right, so now we're going to hold on to the top of the leg loops again. Pulling your knees towards the center line. Slide down the center of the leg loops to the bottom. And we can extend for a warrior three, or boat pose. Keep the gaze lifted, straight ahead, strong arms. And then you can try coming out to a T, which is way harder. Or the easier version is put the leg loops on the shoulders and do a little airplane wings from side to side and have a little fun with it. So we can make it really hard, or we can make it nice and easy and fun. Or we can do all of the above. Okay, great. Just play here for a moment and see what feels good. Maybe pulse forward and back. I do all kinds of different variations from here, but we're just gonna keep it simple for today. Okay. When we're ready to come out, bend the back leg, hold on to your leg loops, press yourself up to stand, and then point your toes towards the sky, and that'll pop off. Okay, let's get into the other side by sitting in the swing and see how that feels. We hardly ever just sit in the swing, so sometimes it can be nice to have like a little swing time. Right? An actual swing. Just a playground. All right. So after having some fun, hold on to your wrist wraps. So remember, our right leg is going to have to go up, stay up. And we're going to step back with our left leg. Slide to the knees. I like to kind of kick it down to the ankles. Both legs straight. Yeah, sometimes it's hard to reach. There you go. And then left leg steps to the back of the mat. Right leg stays up. We already did our forward, back, right? That's how we start. Just warming up the legs, practicing some splits, and then front knee bends, forward lunge. So in our lunge, this is a really challenging pose for people, right? So they're usually back here, not wanting to access that tightness. So press the hips towards the front of the mat strongly. Let the arms come on the inside of the swing, out into a V, lifting the heart, creating space. Right elbow, right knee, Left hand can hold on for support, roll the back heel down, press the back of the head into the swing. Open up the chest. Then the arm is free to go overhead or out in a diagonal. So feel from the back edge of your foot to your fingertips, a long line of energy in the body. Stretch, stretch, stretch. Okay, straighten the front leg if it's available. See if you can come to another version of Hanuman. Or holding onto the foot with one hand or both hands, opening up the chest. We'll do a bunch of those things tomorrow, so don't worry about all that. Reach up, grab for the swing with both hands, turn all the toes forward, pull yourself back to center, and then the swing is going to slide to the ankle. So now we get to stretch the back of the legs. It's really helpful to keep the toes flexed back. And then see if you can massage out the calf all the way to the knee. I think it feels good. Opening up some of the connective tissue. Steer it a little from side to side, leading with the chest, keeping the head in line with the body. So we arch from the upper back instead of rounding the back in this version. Pulling up. And pushing forward, stretching the Achilles out. And then we're gonna pull the toes up towards eye level, wrap both forearms around. Lifting. Let's keep the left one hooked. Revolve twist, looking back towards your right thumb. And then come on back. Hooking both forearms. Left thumb floats back. Let your gaze follow it. Keeping the foot lifted. Finding your balance. Beautiful. All right, coming back in, let's turn the knee out to the side for pigeon. I like to bunch it up at the ankle. Sometimes it'll slide up. I'm gonna push my knee down. Keep holding on with one hand if you can. The foot wants to come close to the body. Just keeping the knee bent a lot, flexing the toes helps protect the knee as well. This is a big stretch for the hip joint, so you'll notice a lot of people don't like this one. But we do. And then we're gonna go back to hand holds. Choose the wrist wrap if possible. Bend the standing leg, stay right underneath your plumb line, so just a little swag. Yeah. Bending both knees, hanging here, more weight. And then you can hook left knee over the foot for I Dream of Jeannie and float. I like pressing my hips out to the side. That feels really good. And I also like to extend right leg out. Play with it. Cross. Woo! All kinds of cool variations in there that are not in the manual because we get lots of playtime. Okay, both feet in. So we're on the right side. So we're going to bend the right knee. We're going to pull ourselves up so the right shin can land on the inside of the swing and step straight down to the center of the mat. Good. Okay. Elbows in so we can lean forward as the swing comes back behind us. Bending both knees if that's available. This is a big stretch, so only go as far as it feels good. See if your heel can be close to your bum. And then the knee lifts, right? It's a totally different stretch. Knee lifts. All right, so let's kind of pull ourselves up to stand, center of the mat. We're going to wrap our arms around the outside of the swing so our hands come to prayer behind our back, close to our wings, right? And then from wherever you can reach, elbows pointing towards the sky, hold on to the swing. Keep pulling the elbows towards one another and up as you lean forward, and that'll lift the leg. Only go as far as it feels good, but that's kind of a bigger naturage expression, right? Beautiful. Come on up to stand. Slowly. You guys all are using great control and balance. Good job. Slide to the nub, the top of the leg loop, and down the center to the middle. We're going to extend for warrior three. Out. Yep. Keep the gaze lifted. Strong arms. And then out to a T. really hard, and then easy angel, airplane wings.
Are you calling Warrior 3 goat? Or
Boat.
Boat.
When we fully extend, I call it boat instead of Warrior 3, because it's not actually a Warrior 3. So Warrior 3 is with your arms out to a T, typically.
Okay.
So it looks like a
Boat
boat.
was always been close enough for me.
I know, you're like, goat pose. Yeah, no. So play with this pose a little bit. It's fun to push forward and pull back, bank from side to side. There's all kinds of variations I do here, but today we're keeping it real simple. It's pretty amazing. Just so many things that are opening and flowing. And all the room that we have to play with angular momentum, rhythm waves. Beautiful. Okay, so come back to the center of the mat. Bend both knees, hold on to the bottom of the leg loops, press yourself back up, and then point the toes towards the sky, and that will come right off. We did it. So yeah, that's just a little taste of what we can do from standing poses. There's lots, but the shorthand for that, which seems like we did a lot more, as forward, backward, side, standing pigeon, standing bow, which is not trash. There's obviously a lot more in there, but that's my shorthand. So when you do write it out for your assignment, you're going to go through all the different variations and write them out, okay? Okay.
All right, is that tonight?
You can do it whenever you want. It doesn't have to be tonight. If you did it tonight, that would be very impressive, but I don't give out any more gold stars. So that has to be on your own volition. I'd say just get some rest tonight and do it in the next 30 days. But do it while it's fresh, because then after 30 days, 99% of the people are like, oh, can I get an extension? And then they never do it. And I was like, I should just make people do stuff, but I don't. It doesn't work. So yeah, sooner the better, but it doesn't have to be tonight. Just see how you feel. If you feel the inspiration, go for it. Okay, so we're holding on to the leg loops, sliding down to the center. We're gonna come down to the floor now. So those were obviously pretty active. If you have a more beginner person, always just do the first 2 or 3 poses in a sequence. You can tell by the time we get to the last couple ones, they're a little bit more active or advanced, even for beginner advanced, okay? So we're standing in front of our circle, okay? We're gonna come into a push-up position. So hands out in front of us, bend the elbows, come and do 5 push-ups. This is the restorative version. This is only if your person likes push-ups. So we're pushing our hips forward, keeping our chest lifted, our gaze up, look up. And then after your last one, bend your knees, come to the front of the mat. Your arms are gonna come up and wide and back behind you. And you're gonna dive in for a child's pose. So untuck your toes, walk your knees about 1/4 of the way back to come into a good position, a good alignment, so that your ankle bones are touching the circle. And yeah, slide back just a little bit more. Yeah, so that feels a little better, right? So now the crown of the head is towards the front of the mat. And I like my arms, I'm holding on with my fingers and I'm suspended. And I'm gently just rocking my upper body from side to side. So you can always do child's pose on the floor without suspension. It just feels nice to traction in the shoulders. We're gonna come on back to center. Look up, inhale, bring the arms wide and around and overhead. And then we're gonna pulse here for a few breaths, kind of like we did the arm presses. So we're gonna inhale, lift, exhale, lower the chest. Keep the gaze up the whole time, inhale, lift. It's like we're undulating the spine like a cat-cow, but we're not gonna go that far. Inhale, lift. Exhale, lower. Use your breath in whatever way feels good. You can always bend the elbows if you need, otherwise straight arms if you can. Inhale and exhale. Inhale, bring the arms wide, this time and back around, dive in, bow down towards the front of the mat. Your head will probably not touch your forehead, it might. Just take a moment here to sway again from side to side or whatever feels good. Be spontaneous and creative with the movement. Okay, we're going to inhale, lift our gaze, swim all the way back around, the wide and around, lift our gaze first, otherwise it's not that great on the shoulders. Then we're going to bicep curl up to our knees for a camel pose. So elbows are in tight towards the body, fingers are pointing towards our chest, right? So we have to do a little negotiating with the swing. Usually I go behind the swing. I'll change to a wrist wrap if that's comfortable for you guys. And now we're going to use our quads again, lucky for us. And we're going to keep our chest lifted towards the sky. Keep your neck long, both the front and the back of the neck. And I want you to do 5 bicep curls and press the quads forward at the same time. Lift and lower. Lift. Keep the chest lifted the whole time though. Lift and lower. Lift. Next time you come back, lower the hips. So lower your sit bones towards your heels. Let the crown of the head come back behind you, straight arms. Maybe the crown of the head touches down, maybe not. I call this rainbow now, mainly because Supta Virasana was too long to put on the card. But arch and open like a rainbow. Inhale, bicep curl back up, and we're gonna sit to the side. Does that feel good? I know, like we just fell. I know. Let's sit to the other side. Yeah, maybe that one doesn't. Now I'm just feeling your shoulder. Like, what's that? No, it's Selena's shoulder. Awesome. Okay, roll your upper body back behind you. Let your legs come in front of you. We're going to come right into a wide straddle. Okay? I'm like doing my best to follow what the manual says because there's a lot of balance these days. All this was written in like 2014, so there's like 300 more poses, so just gotta work with it. So yeah, flex the toes back, keep the legs nice and wide in a V. See if you can roll. The first thing I like to do is roll my pubic bone under and back. And let's just pulse with arms in front of us and just pulse forward and back, just rocking the pelvis. So most people are like this, and it's like they can't come forward. But if you get your pubic bone to rock back and down, shooting it towards the back of the room there, and then your upper body can come forward. So this is a nice, and we can do like little belly dancing moves and all kinds of fun things here, throwing the one butt and the other butt. You know. Yeah, exactly. Or just, you know, some spirals and rolls. Just play with it, but make sure you keep your chest lifted, your belly long, so it's like your navel is trying to come forward. And then just pulse a little bit in the space. It's a nice way to train the lower body to move independent of the upper body, so the upper body stays lifted, right? And that way you don't have to come down as far too. That's it. Yep. Pulsing forward and back. Maybe go a little bit more from side to side. See what that feels like on the hip joints. How fun. And then in these poses, we can do the same thing where we just bend the elbow and hang into it a little bit. Straighten the opposite arm. Maybe this is as far as we go down, but we're pretending like we could reach over, right, and grab for the foot and do our normal yoga stuff. But we want to have arm overhead, Selena, instead of like this, yeah. So always like a rainbow instead of losing it, because we want to keep the chest open. I don't like grabbing it. We can roll it there, but stay lifted today because we're trying to do some basic poses. And then the other side, so really bend at the hip crease, drop it down, maybe overhead. There you go. Beautiful. Really lengthen. Out, out, out. It's amazing what a little suspension can do, right?
It really is.
That's why cars have it. Okay, so let's go back into a wrist wrap. I just like the wrist wrap. You can always hold on with your fingers. I just think this gives me a little bit more tractioning on the wrists and a little bit more grip. Okay, squeeze the legs together. Pull your hips forward a little bit. We're gonna bicycle. This is obviously not the restorative version either. You're like, when do we do restorative?
Oh, when is the restorative?
The restorative class is tomorrow. No, it's today. So we can bicycle from side to side, which is kind of fun. Just rolling out onto the hip. Bicycle to the other side, do some breakdancing moves. Okay, now we're going to come into boat, the other boat. Lift the chest, yeah. And then legs down, arching from the back of the heart, crown of the head towards the floor, fish pose. Fish pose you can do with the legs lifted if that's your jam. See what you like. Whew. All right, let's actually try one plow. Pull your hips even more forward to the front of the mat. See if you can roll back and bring your legs overhead. Just try it. If it doesn't work out, don't worry about it. But see if you can lift your hips up, toes towards the ground behind you, and roll back down. Good. Can be very challenging for some people, but it actually feels amazing. And then we're going to kick up into shoulder stand and release the leg loops from our hands. Just get your legs up there. There you go. I'm going to go in the same direction as you guys for camera-worthy purposes. So yeah, kick up, hook the knees, release the leg loops. So shoulder stand is when the chin is tucked into the chest. Roll your shoulders underneath you, and either palms are up, or you can go ahead and clasp them underneath your sacrum and press them into the earth. Whatever feels good for today. And we're going to practice dropping the hips and lifting the hips and seeing what feels good on the body. And at the same time, you can straighten the legs and bend the knees and do a little alternating. Try not to turn your head from side to side, even though you might want to take a peek. It's best to keep the neck safe by keeping the chin tucked into the chest. Awesome. So this is obviously a very modified version of shoulder stand, but it's nice to get just a little bit of weight in the upper body while the legs are suspended. Then we're going to straighten our legs, turn our toes out to the sides, let the swing catch at the ankles, and then squeeze the toes towards one another as you let your hips drop down and suspend. Now it's a little intense on the feet, so only hold it for as long as it feels good. But the whole fun part is it's like it's kind of like we're suspending and extending our legs up the wall for Viparita, but we are still in the swing. So I like to push my hips up and drop my hips and play around with that again, but if you feel more comfortable, you can just release your toes and just let the swing hook the ankles. It's just at some point it's going to pop off, and that's okay too, because eventually when it pops off, we're done with that sequence, and just let your feet decide how much longer you want to stay. Let's just lay on the ground in Baddha Konasana with your hands on your belly or your chest, and just take a pause and feel gravity. Feel the weight of your body, feel the strength of this force. Feel the pull towards the center of your belonging here. You're welcomed back onto the earth with this strong gravitational pull. You see how different it is than being suspended, and how nice it is to take a break from gravity or use gravity in another way and then revisit it and feel how strongly you're welcomed back. There's no lack of gravity, that is for sure, at least for now. I'm going to take 5 more breaths here, and then we'll move into a bit of a review for our restorative. Then we'll do restorative, hopefully, most likely. Really nice, guys.